is Hard Parking, sponsored by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. Of course, you know I'm your host, Jhae Finning, recording from my home studio in Gilbert. Coming up on today's show, we catch up with Brando Barrameda. Hopefully that name sounds familiar to you. If you've been listening to this podcast for a long time, probably since the beginning, he was the co-host. He and I started this podcast together, and he got busy. The dude's a creative. You know, I've talked about being a creative before, not so much on my own podcast, but as a guest on Wes Tankersley's Shaping Success podcast. And creators are different. Like, I'm a creator, but I'm not the type of creator that Brando is. He travels all over the place. He's got a million different ideas going on. He's got a lot of irons in the fire. But he was at NS Expo. We caught up, had a good time, and decided he should come back on the podcast. So we're going to catch up and hear whatever he's been up to. And, you know, as usual, it's a lot of good things. Also, I did a car show this weekend. It's called the Lucky 13, and it was at a tattoo parlor in Tempe called Sentient Tattoo Collective. And it's kind of one of those deals, you know, presented by Rad or Die, Mimi. You guys know Mimi. She's been on the show. Hopefully I can get her back on soon because our big event, One Less, with the United Food Bank is coming up on November 11th. If you guys want to join in or help from wherever you're at, you're listening to, you can. You do get a donation receipt. Just go to I have the link in my bio. You get to click a couple times on my Instagram to find the link. It's One Less Car Show. And then the link is also in the bio of the One Auto Movement. But going back to Lucky 13, you know, there's 13 cars that were featured. There were a lot of cars there. Mine was one of the cars. Thank you for the invite. But it was really cool because they had a pet adoption thing set up, and they had this little thing called Clear the Cart. And so what you do is you scan the QR code, and it takes you to Amazon. You go down their little wish list. You pick an item. I bought some Hills dog food, which is something I used to feed Izzy. It's kind of expensive. This isn't a flex. I mean, it's not going to break the bank. But they already know how much they want. You pick the item, add it to your cart, change the shipping address to their location, which is already in there. You pay for it and you help clear the cart. So it's a really good event. Like being a part of it. It's Halloween season. There's a lot of trunk or treats out there. I think there's going to be one at Right Honda or Right Toyota coming up. I have to check my calendar. I can't make it to all of them, but I got to make sure I make it to that one. But like I said before, it's car show season. Did some modifications on the NSX. That's right. My car is no longer stock. Outside of the wheels and the charge pipes, that's all I had. But yeah, it moves pretty good and it's a little louder. Anyway, we catch up with Brando after this word from 4 Wheel Online. Jhae Finning here, and I want to tell you guys about 4 Wheel Online. For over a decade, 4 Wheel Online has been bringing the best truck accessories and truck parts to enhance the appearance and performance of all trucks and SUVs. They are dedicated to providing an extensive range of upgrades that will match any maker model on the road. Their truck products cover everything you need to give your truck a custom look and added functionality. And if you need a tire and wheel package, head over and use the configuration tool. They carry all the major brands of wheels and tires, so go get outfitted today. So visit them online at 4Wheel Online or call them at 813-769-2451. Again, that's 4Wheel Online, the number 4 Wheel Online. Brando Barrameda, welcome back to Hard Parking. You always have a home here. Dude, what's going on?
Thanks for having me again, Jay, after a few year hiatus.
It's been all right. I think I don't remember the last time you were on, but you were on, and you're always traveling to the U.S., to the Philippines, and you always got 700 different projects going on, but it was cool to, you know, I'm glad I ran into you at NS Expo, or I didn't run into you like I didn't know you were going to be there, but, you know, I reached out to confirm you're going to be there, because that's the first one you've been to since 2016. You were at Westfest, but, you know, being semi-regional, it's always cool to see someone like you who, you know, you're in the car, and we talked about this a few years ago, you're into the car scene, but for you, the car scene is just one of those cool things you do. You're not all into the fact that you live and die by it, and you understand it's kind of a social thing. Let's talk about that real quick, and we'll jump back into you.
You're right about that. I treat the car culture as more as a hobby and a social event for me. You know, and I love meeting the people in the car culture because it's a different type of person that you meet in that in that network, you know.
Yeah.
So I had to take off from work, but whenever something big or something good enough to attend in my region, Southwest, I'm always down for it. Like I'll make room for it. Like this one, I wasn't sure if I was gonna be there on Friday or on Thursday, So, but I was able to make it Thursday. So, my hotels and my stays was kind of got thrown up a little bit, but I always try to make it though, So then I'm glad I got to catch up with you too, because I haven't seen you since Westfest. Physically see you, right? That's the last time we hung out.
Right.
Was Westfest, and ever since then, just fucking life happens. I have to put things on the side, but now after all these years, I've cleared up my schedule a little bit to where I can focus now and do some more personal time, like some of my hobbies and social gatherings, and be more social now. So this NS Expo was a nice kind of resurgence of how awesome the car culture is and the community that we have, especially. So I feel like now I'm gonna be popping out once in a while a little more now.
How long of a drive for you was that? Because you're coming from Destin. It is Destin, Florida, right?
Yeah, Panama City Beach area.
Panama
So
City.
it was only a 5 hour drive. Well, 5.5 after all my stops. Get gas, take pictures and stuff like that. So it wasn't bad at all. It was a straight shot. I was nervous at first because I haven't drove the car that far in a while. But
I get it, dude.
It's a Honda. Should make it.
I mean, it should, right? But when I used to drive across all these things, because obviously I flew to Atlanta, but I would look at the map and I would say, wow, that looks like a really cool road off the beaten path. I don't want to take that road if I'm by myself. I'm staying on the main
Right.
highways because if I break down, someone's going to see me. If I break down over there, who knows what's going to happen?
Correct. Especially your travel time. If you're going to be traveling backcountry, shortcut road at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's kind of scary sometimes,
Yeah. So what have you been up to? You still screwing with a bunch of real estate? I know you do stuff with hospitality. Again, you kind of told us a little bit at Expo when we were sitting there eating that, you've been going back and forth because you spent a few months over in the Philippines. Like, what do you have going on from a real estate aspect?
So we've got my main mission right now is to have my ecotourism resort in the Philippines launched. 24 villas in a compound, and 4 different compounds, one in the mountains, one on the beach, one in the country, and one in the city, as part of my chain. So that's what I'm working on right now. We just finished my 96 unit apartment in Manila. Second floor is office space, which I'm hoping my partners will let me take half of it so I can make that into my full-time creative studio for my team. And then first floor is going to be a grocery franchise. And so that's going to be the first one. And which means I get to play around with branding merchandises as a hobby and work now too, So I have that going on there. Panama City Beach in Florida area, vertically integrated in real estate. I mean, we're just to the point. My clients now, I instead of selling real estate, I'm selling more of a business because since I can do transactions, the acquisition. I have short-term rentals. There's a long-term rental, and I have my marketing company. When they buy a rental unit or real estate that's for short-term rental, within 2 weeks, it's ready making money. Videos are ready to go, photos, it's being managed, and it's a money tree. So that's just pretty much what I've been babying. But now I'm able to step away from it now because now everything is kind of up and running and it doesn't need me there. And I'm not really a great operator. I'm more of a designer, launch it, hand it over to the operators and let them do their thing, So now that I have that up and running, I'm playing around now. And I think I'm going to play for the next 4 years and just see where this goes and just play around with the new travel content project, I should say.
Couple things on that. I think number one, having a grocery store. Now, is this kind of like a quickie mart, or is it kind of like an all-in grocery store? But if it's being on the first level of a residential building, that's got to be golden, man. I mean, who wouldn't want to just?
Mm.
Because for me, I get in the car and I drive down, and I live in Phoenix. Everybody listens to the show knows I live in the Phoenix area. Everything's within a city block away, pretty much out here in the East Valley. I can't
Mhm.
imagine just going out the door and maybe going downstairs and walking to the end of the complex and buying all my groceries and then coming back. Like, that's got to be good. And then
It's easy money.
it's easy money, right? And then number two, so you're the idea, you're the creative, you're the guy, and then you put the operational folks into place. When did you realize that you don't want to be or shouldn't be overseeing operations in order to make stuff go?
My fifth year in entrepreneurship when I was 35, 7 years ago.
Yeah,
That's when I realized that I am not an operator. As much as I love designing, getting it set up, creating the protocols, recruiting the team, making sure it's the system is in place, to where if there's something wrong, it's either the protocol, the position, or the personnel. Right. So when I realized that I would rather design it rather than run it, it was like everything just made easy for me because then I'm being real with myself. I'm like, yeah, I'm the CEO for the first year and a half. Once we go on the black, we're making money.
sure.
Uh, People are gonna get hired, and I'm gonna disappear. So I always have a 4-year exit strategy on everything that I do when I go into anything.
Okay, so
Is
ultimately that's the thing, though. It's like design it, build it up, make sure it's profitable, flip it, next project.
correct.
Okay. So are any of these things you ever want to? I mean, do you work in the contract where you're related to it in some point, or it's like here's my number, and I'm off to the next thing. Good luck. Don't run into the ground. If you do, that's on you.
Mm. Depends on the contract. If it's
Okay.
something that I enjoy, that it's within my realm. So my realm would be hotels, travel, food, restaurant, tech, toys, fashion. Like those 5 realms. If it's not within those things, I just want to get paid and get the fuck out. Now, if it's within those realms, I want to stay in because then I can design something, a funnel through my system that I can help with that business, amplify a little bit of it, amplify sales a little bit from this demographic, or funnel sales from this place for this. So I don't want to be involved unless I can bring more value long term for the project, because then it becomes a bad relationship.
Let me ask you this. I'm not really, obviously this isn't a political podcast, but I can't ignore the things that are going on in the world.
Of
And for
course.
someone like you who's been making moves for the past 7 years, well, longer than that, but 7 years ago is when you decided, hey, ops, not for me.
Yeah.
But doing the commercial stuff there and even overseas, how has the changes of our laws of our land, I guess, impacted that? For example, Trump comes in and he does his thing, and how does that affect you? Now Biden's here and Biden's doing his thing, and then globally, right now we're right in the middle of the Israeli and the Palestinian conflict. That may not affect you here in Florida yet, but do worldly conflicts ever affect your businesses overseas?
I try not, it's a good question, but I try not to let the politics determine how I move. Now, granted, I want to know what's going on so I can avoid places, but I kind of include it as part of the design. Like one of the problems that we had on the real estate part being vertically integrated was we were manufacturing building materials in China, you
Yeah,
know? So these taxes going up with China's imports,
right.
you know, you go from, I don't know, like $7,000 cargo to 13, 14, $16,000, So
That's per container,
that,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's not worth it anymore. So realizing that now I learned, because of that, I learned that I need to step away from that. And now I have a network of building materials manufacturers out of Mexico. So it's a matter of just, it's like rolling with the punches. China gets tariff. Okay, how do I move from this? Do that.
Going from China because of the tariffs and that crazy thing, and then moving it to Mexico, which seems okay, it's here and it's better, but there has to be some sort of risks that go along with that either too as well. Because I'm just some person, I don't understand how any of that stuff works. I watch TV, I listen to some of the news. Is there ever a fear of, okay, well, Mexico's ran by, the crooked government and the cartels? Does that ever come into play? Have you ever even had to think about that? Or fortunately, you haven't had to think about anything like that? Or you have thought
Uh,
about it and it's avoidable?
no, he said it's not avoidable. It's just part of the business. In the Philippines, it's a pay-to-play system.
Okay,
Regardless if you want to go through, the proper way to get licensed for a trading company, you still gotta pay some people.
sure.
Like, and that's just it's never ending,
That's the
man. It's
reality.
never ending. It's reality. And growing up with that environment and knowing how that is, you just charge it to the game. It just becomes a line item. you know, expense however you want to expense that out.
Interesting,
But
yeah.
it just becomes a line item, and you just say, okay,
Grease
it
the
is what
palms
it
of the
is.
decision makers.
Yeah, man. And the Asian culture of making money is not really the same way as Westerners do. Westerners, we rely on our balance sheets and our keeping our food production and our food costs low, our labor costs and our expense low. In Asia, it's more of if you have that expense already and you normally make $1 from every transaction, if somebody wants to give you a transaction to where you're only making 5 cents, you can't say no to that because you're already spending that money for the overhead. So you have to take that. So it becomes more aggressive to where we don't have to worry about our numbers being proper for us to think that we're winning.
Do people still cherish the American dollar in agreements?
Oh yeah, like I think that from my experience, I had been doing business with a lot of countries,
Mm-hmm.
and the U.S. dollars is still how we transact business. It's what we use, and the dollar is so strong. Like you've seen what the dollar has done to Japan. Our dollar is 50% stronger now in Japan. Like now's the time we should go to Japan, Jay, next year for their NSX party
Now's the time
event.
to buy stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yep. It's now a buck, 150 yen for $1
Wow.
a few days ago. And before it was like 106, 112 at the highest. But knowing this, now it's a good time, especially if you had like in the Philippines. I don't have a bank account in Japan. When the Philippines, the pesos hits high to 60 pesos on $1. Oh, I send dollars in and convert that to pesos and put that back in the bank,
Smart.
you know, and
That
get that
seems like
money in.
that seems
It's like
like another
Forex.
right. It's another way to make money that your average person would never in a million years think about.
Correct.
It's like, and I've talked about this. They don't sponsor the show, and this is pennies compared to what you're doing because I'm too afraid to lose money. But like when I do
Hmm.
DraftKings, right? If from the betting, if someone's minus 400 or minus 300, and if someone gives me free like $20 in free bets, I'm always going to bet on the underdog because this money not coming out of my pocket to begin with. But if they
Correct.
win, that's money going into my pocket. And in
Hmm.
college football, the first week is always the cupcakes. The really good teams play the shitty teams. It's like even if you have to bet $1,000 to win $100, that's a 10%, and it's 99.9% guaranteed, depending on who you put that money on. And it's the same thing with
Yep.
this currency exchange. If you sit there and watch it, right? It's like, hey, when it goes down, when it's in my favor, I'm going to go ahead and buy and cash and flip it. Smart.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, like if you just pay attention to the news, politics, like my old babysitter from the Philippines in Manila, you know, he writes the GDP for the Philippines. So he's taught me how to pay attention to which patterns to look at,
Mm-hmm.
to which sector to kind of get into. So it's this. I think the investment game. It's like a networking game of having the right people in your ear telling you when to make the right move.
Yeah. So real estate resorts aside, is that really much your grind right now, or because in the past you've had like 10 different things you're working on at once?
Yeah, that is the only thing now. That and the my media company, that is kind of like the cherry on top of the real estate project.
Want to talk about how that works?
Yeah, sure. So I 3 weeks ago, I finally created my LLC. Got to make it official. Thank you. It's called Midnight Call Studio.
Sounds like Backpage, Brando.
Right? Midnight Call, right? So it makes you wonder what that is. So that was part of the concept behind it. But that company, that LLC, pretty much manages the brands that I was experimenting and playing with. Like, for example, my When in PCB brand, which is When in Panama City Beach. That's a pretty good Instagram following now. We're starting to shoot content for its YouTube, because no one's really doing content for Panama City Beach of places to do, places to eat, things, tourist shits, people that, and we are a tourist town, and no one is executing at the level that I can. And I knew this a few years ago. It's just, I just didn't have the time in my budget to execute, So for the last 3 years, I've been tying up loose ends so I can properly execute on this one. Because I realize, we create our own prison, regardless we want to or not.
Right.
So for me, I like to have fun. I like to play. I like to play with friends. Okay. So if that's part of my prison, okay, then I just got to make my walls. It's going to be food, travel, cars, and creative entrepreneurship, right? So I'm approaching this project of the bag is taken care of, and I just have to find something that I enjoy to do, because if I enjoy something, I'm going to scale it up, and when that scales up, that's going to earn money. So now I just had to figure out what I really like to do, and this is it. Making content that happens to be something that I'm good at and has knowledge about, and just staying here and not be an order taker, and just play with people that I like and brands that I really like.
What's next for you?
Ooh.
Besides getting this resort in the Philippines off the ground, and then how far out do you think you are from that realization of making that work?
So this NS so prior to this NS Expo, I would say I was about 2.5 years out. So the concept for this project is it's walking distance from the beach. It's in Batangas, and it's a 24 unit resort compound. 12 of it is for Airbnb, 12 of it is for Western retirees, fruit trees and everything, and employees. And I was going to say I'm 2.5 years out. But after this expo, Ollie, he met me in the Philippines in 2020. He was like, I see what you're doing in the Philippines, in Manila. I'll be there in January, and I want to be your investor. And I was just laughing, and I'm like, I'm doing some projects in Manila. He was like, yeah. He was like, yep, I'm going to be there. So I'm going to show him. So now if Ollie jumps in, that 2.5 year project may be a 1.5 year project.
Got it.
So, and I already I'm using my batchmates, my alumni batchmates from Don Bosco. It's kind of like a fraternity. We have engineers, architects, designers, construction people, like it's the homies already. So it's more of hiring your friends to do a project that my cousins, which last time I was in the Philippines, I helped them get her brokerage, real estate brokerage, and helped her sister, my other cousin, build her management company, Diamond Philippine Suites PH, which is the same thing I did here in Panama City Beach. So now just to make it easy over there. So now that's a 1.5 years. So I'm hoping 1.5 years, you and Yvette can come to the Philippines and check out the resort.
Well, I think that'd be pretty cool. We still have to get out to where you're at right now and check it out.
Yeah.
I know you had offered early last year, and we had a pup that couldn't travel. But now we're pup
Mm.
free, so then we can start making those plans to kind of head out that way here soon.
Yeah. I get back. So I fly out to the Philippines December 14th, and I come back February 8th.
Oh,
So, maybe the second or third week of February, weather's going to be perfect.
yeah, we'll take a look
Definitely
at
host
that.
you.
We're going out of the country, I think in April, so
Mm.
we'll take a look and see how all that stuff is going.
Is NSXcapades a NSXCA event?
That's the one that just got posted with John Komar, right?
Right? Because I was thinking,
It's not.
what
It's
it,
so what it
okay.
is, and this is kind of what we want to do in this region more consistently. Is it's just a giant event for regional NSX owners, and although it's ran by Komar, which is the southeast regional rep, he so it's a good recruiting tool, but it's not a club exclusive event, and I don't believe it should be anyway. I think in order to get our club members to grow and for them to see that it's not some, stuffy old school club, then, attending events like NS Escapades, which from what I understand has been incredibly successful in the past, just continuing to do that, I think is going to be very important moving forward. So no, it's not, but it's kind of underwritten as very closely related.
Okay. Because I was just thinking, I'm like, what if, either on the way there, I can make my place a stop, Panama City Beach, and host it for 1 or 2 nights, before heading down there for people. And it'll be more of like, I can host people at the beach house, have a bonfire that night. People from down there can come up as well.
Dude,
Then,
that sounds awesome. I mean, I'm sure you could just put it out there.
yeah.
I have no idea how many cars and how many people go, but I mean, that'd be awesome. I would say, yeah, man, just put it out there for sure.
Okay. And I hit the guys up down in the Florida NSX team, see if we can do that. Because I like hanging out with, it was NS Expo was nice to be around like-minded individuals.
Sure.
Conversations are different there than it is in the gym, than it is in the grocery center, So like, I like more of that.
There's a lot
I wish we
of
could do that.
2 and 3 a.m. hangouts during the event, which I think would surprise people to know that it's not, even if we have to get up at 7:30, 8 o'clock and be ready, people are still hanging out to 2:33, 3:30. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's a family reunion essentially. Even if you're meeting people for the first time, it's a family reunion, and I think it's that type of environment that continues to bring people back and bring people from other countries as well, and bring Brando, for the first time since 2016.
Right. Yeah. Hey, we need to make a trip to Japan, Jay. We need to go and do one of the NSX events.
Yeah, they used to have NSX Fiesta, and it used to be sponsored by Honda. And I understand a year or two, maybe longer, Honda stopped doing that, but I think that they're still trying to do some semblance of NSX Fiesta on their own. I mean, because it's like here in America, right? NSX Club of America. People think it's underwritten by Acura. It isn't. Acura is just a sponsor like anybody else is. And, they may be a platinum level sponsor, but we're not talking a lot of money at all. And I think moving forward, it'd be great if we can just become 100% member funded, because we have a lot of members with businesses, and we just have to figure out, how do we make it attractive to them to want to be involved? Just like when you go to Petit Le Mans or the Formula One race, you have random companies that technically have nothing to do with cars, but they are big name sponsors for that event. You go to Monterey Car Week, you have people who are companies who are sponsoring that event that have nothing to do with cars, because they recognize the value in having that name association. And I think that I think we can do that, man. I think we can do that. We have a lot of members. We have a lot of excited members. And it's just about, it's not what can you do for us as a big party or a big pocket sponsor. It's what can we do to make that valuable to you. So that's kind of a challenge, but I think we can do it.
Yeah. No, this is the kind of projects I get hired to do. So I get hired to do like facilitate projects like this. Man, if you want NSXCA to be fully funded, making money itself, me and you can sit down, we can sidebar and figure that out. I think that's a great problem to kind of solve. I think that's a fun problem to solve.
Yeah,
And
well,
like
I'm
you said,
going to
it's possible.
implement action teams, which is something
Lovely.
it's never had. The club's never had, and that's going to be part of one of the teams. A bunch of brainstorming, creative sessions where we
Mm.
bullet point what it is we want to do, how it is we get there, and start working on it in parallel, not
I,
as this, then this, then this. No. Each group is going to be responsible for building because that's really the only way we're going to get to the ultimate goal of success. And I don't have the time, or the bandwidth to try to do everything on my own. And I shouldn't have to because we have people like you, and we have people like Becca and Nathan, and we have dozens of others out there that are capable of helping us get there.
For sure. And I want to say, like when I told you about my media company,
Yeah.
I say that because I want you to utilize it. Like I got you. Like what do we need? For NSXTA, you let me know. All I need is the footage. We can make everything else happen. We can do the voiceover storytelling. Like, man, we can sidebar and I can show you the entire system and process, so you can see to where it's like you drop a penny in one end and a pig comes out of the other side.
I'm a very visual person, Brando, and so when you said that, I imagined dropping a penny in some sort of a machine, and then having
Something
like a little pig pop out the other side. And it's like, oh, okay, Willy Wonka, how the fuck did you do that? So
fucking magic, man.
It's magic.
It's magic. My email for my studio is actually magic@midnightcall.studio.
So you guys listening heard that? So should people listening
Don't
reach out
email
to you
me
if they have any?
No, don't call me. I'll call you.
All right, I got it.
that is what that is what my biggest reason why I stepped away from real estate is that I didn't like being bothered. I like going down my 4-hour deep dive work and me having to answer a call over a listing that she already knows all the information and asking me the same question, like really bothered me.
Sure.
Like stupid people bothered me. So I was like,
stupid people bother me too.
Yeah, I don't want to do that anymore.
What's your pet peeve? Stupid people.
Yeah. That's it. That's a lot of it.
Hey, let me ask you something. I haven't asked a guest this in a long time, and we'll get you out of here on this. You're out there making a lot of moves, building things, selling things. I don't know how many people really know you that well. But optically speaking, if someone's looking at your media companies or someone's looking at the stuff that you've been doing, what's people's perception of your success and what's the reality it takes to get there?
Oh, shit. Perception? Oh, fuck. I don't know. I make it look easy. I think I make it look easy, but the reality is, like our struggles is my fight. Nobody needs to see my struggles.
Yeah.
So, like, I want to make it look good. I want the struggle to look good, because then it's a mind fuck for people. They're like, oh shit, Brando did that shit was so easy. He did that in 3 days, but he didn't realize that it was a year of production and timing and setup for me to happen.
The struggle is your reality. To know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The struggle is reality.
I love pain, man. Like the struggles and pain and stress. Like you have to embrace this shit. Like,
yeah.
I love the process. The celebrations is great. It's just an excuse for me to buy a trophy and dance.
Yeah.
But I like the struggle. I like the process.
What do you struggle with the most in being Brando?
Ooh.
I only ask the good questions.
Yeah. Ooh. Take a sip of water real quick, boy. Oh, man. I struggle. Oh.
Your number one thing.
Attention. I think I have the shortest attention span. And if it's not in front of me and if it's not on fire and I'm not panicking, I'm going to forget about it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with that. But I think as a creative trying to do so many things, the impact is probably bigger.
Yeah. One of my problems too is that, like, I think I told you, like, I have a multiple personality problem.
Yeah.
So I have to be in psychedelics for me to be proper.
Yeah, you did say that depending on what you've taken, your clarity comes when you have multiple when you're talking to all of yourself or something, right?
Yeah, correct. So I take psychedelics depending on the person that I need to summon.
Right.
And since then, dude, life has been easy.
Sure.
Life has been easy. So I think we just have to understand the method to our madness and accept it.
So true words, Brando. Thanks for coming on Hard Parking, man. I know you don't like to get bothered. If someone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way?
You can catch me on Instagram at Bootstrap Brando.
All one word. I guess it always is one word, isn't it? Although some people do underscores. But yeah, Bootstrap
all
Brando.
One word. Bootstrap Brando. Or my email. Yes. magic@midnightcall.studio for creative stuff. So.
Well, cool, man. We'll catch up very soon.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, Jay.
As always. I want to thank Brando for taking the time out of his day to come on the podcast. It was really good. And even after we got off the phone, probably talked another 30, 45 minutes, bounced a bunch of ideas off each other. I'm in kind of a spot with One Auto. It was my passion project, started in 2016. It peaked maybe in 2018, started circling the drain in 2019. COVID came, and then ever since then, it's just been this weird catch-up game. And I'm kind of at a loss. It's one of those deals where I don't want to give up on it because what is there to give up on? And there's a lot of people out there who count on having One Auto movement around, but it's funded by me. We don't do shit for sales. When we're invited to car shows like Modern Culture, usually they give us the space for free, which is awesome because normally vendor spots are $100, $200, and you have to sell a lot of merchandise to make that up. And that's not always the case. So I've had to fund One Auto through Hard Parking Media. And so it's at that point where, I just bought a pop-up. It's not ready yet, but I'm going to go, to the Modern Culture show at the end of the month, and I'm going to go as Hard Parking Podcast. It's not going to be One Auto movement because I decided that that's where I'm going to turn my money. But things are on the up and up. Like I said, we have that event coming up with one less, but maybe it's time to change. It's time to strategize and throw more money at it in order for a better future, to get back to where we were back in 2018 because we were at our peak. I was getting orders from all parts of the United States, and sometimes they would trickle in from other parts of the world. And I haven't been able to capture that again. And it's been a struggle. But we'll see what the future holds. Not giving up on it, just, working on something else to kind of bring it back to life. And so, of course, with that being said, I want to thank Right Honda and Right Toyota, 4wheelonline.com, Cell Shop Wireless Services, Patreon Business Supporter, Kuya Automotive out of Winter Garden, Florida. What's up, RJ? Pale Construction out of Caledonia, Michigan. Beak House Small Home Design out of Ashburn, Virginia, and Traverse City, Michigan. Shaving Success with West Tankersley out of Boise, Idaho. Also, Mark Stoneman, Catherine Cox, Eddie Ramos, Richard Grays, Byron Jones, Bo Jung, Alex Camina, Andrew Bunkley. If you want to help the podcast upgrade, you can join my Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Get access to bonus audio as well as show swag. Working on that gift. We are in mid-October. So I've started searching for the Patreon gifts. I usually give out some pretty cool things. It's basically a rebate. It goes to the patrons and it goes to the sponsors. The difference is the sponsors get to write it off as advertisement. The regular patrons, the Mark Stomans of the world, the Catherine Cox of the world, that's just money out of their pocket. You can't write it off. And so I try to give it back in almost like a rebate way. So I got some big plans, got some ideas. You want to email the show, hardparkingpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram @JFinning. Join the Hard Parking Violations Facebook group. New coasters are out. Check out the merchandise over at Hard Parking Pod. Click the store link. Buy something. Give me a reason to keep selling stuff. Because I can't grow like you telling the world how great the show is. Let's do this, grow this thing together, and I will talk to you all next week.
Shut up! Finally got around to trying that Arby's Wagyu burger. It was alright. I ain't like the little dressing shit they put on it.